hello, my silky friends. How are you doing? I see you're already here for the crazy. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to say hi, but I'm going to postpone that for just a second because I have a guest tonight. And I didn't announce it. Actually, we kind of put it together at the last minute. And I also didn't want trolls. So, let me bring him on stage. Let me see here. Y'all say hello too. Let me see if I can get us on there. The prof. Hey, prof, how you doing?
All right, how are you, Silky?
I'm good. Can y'all hear him? I can't hear you as loud. And sometimes when I have a guest, let me see if I can adjust your mic settings here. No, I've got you all the way off. All the
Okay,
way on. All the way on. I mean,
all the way off. Thank you. Testing one, two, one, two. Testing. Okay,
let me see if this will work. Okay, say something. Let me see if this is better.
okay. Testing. Is that better? Testing.
Um,
One, two, three.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. Um, let's see. Let me say hi. Sharon, I don't know if you're back. Hi, Watha finally decided that she was gonna be part of the crazy. Hello, just Robin. Laura Thompson's gonna catch the replay. Linda K. Whoop whoop. Daniel Barry. Daniel Barry, what's up? Buckeye, hello. Freckled Joy, hey. Hey, you want to come on, Freckled? Um, I'm actually talking about well, there's current headlines and there's all kind of crazy. What's going on with you, Prof?
Oh, I'm just I'm totally engrossed with the crazy news, and this terrible political news is what
Yeah,
I've been consumed with, trying to keep up and understand it.
yeah, me too. And I mean, I was watching yesterday. Well, I wasn't watching when it happened, but just a few minutes after, I started watching, and I've been engrossed in it too. But even while they were reporting it, I had a lot of questions, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Whatever y'all want to talk about, but I have some problems. I have some problems. Uh, with some stuff going on. So, uh, we are not talking Delphi. That's what I told Prof. I texted him. I'm like, I'm talking everything except Delphi because it is a dung hole right now,
That is
isn't
nothing to
it?
talk about anyway. Yeah, yeah. It's nothing.
It's horrible. It is horrible. I meant to text you actually yesterday, Prof, because I need to have a phone call with you about something that just not to say anything, but yeah, just somebody that said you need to ask Prof. Okay. I said, okay, I will. And then I got busy yesterday because the time difference and I forgot. But anyway, hello, JD. How you doing?
Oh,
Um,
me?
yeah. So, what was your initial? Okay, let me just ask you. Hey, yo, Leo. What was your initial thought on what happened? Like, were you watching it live? Like, kind of walk me through what you were thinking.
Yeah, well, I have very intense feelings, like many do today. I think what this has done is kick me in the ass, so to speak, uh, up to another level of focus and intensity because I've sort of like I try to avoid inflammatory comments and politics and things. I try to make everyone happy, and I'm more interested in art and music and science and history. So I really don't like politics, but but it's undeniable at this point that you're almost forced. This something like this is forcing you to really think hard and express yourself. And basically, it's so I was watching it live. I had intended to just because we're dealing with 100-degree temperatures right now, which is highly unusual for my
Yes.
location. And I was
Wow.
so exhausted by yesterday evening and afternoon that I said, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of cool off because it was so warm. I said, I'm just going to go lay down, cool off, and watch this Trump rally. And and I was just shocked. Initially I thought, was that the sound of fireworks? And I thought I would. When I saw the Secret Service jump, I didn't think that was anything unusual. And even when he jumped up and had the blood, I thought, well, is this a bullet or was this maybe fireworks that were thrown at him or something? But but as it started to sink in, I got to tell you, my rage for the mainstream media is just at an all-time boiling point. And I
Same.
guess I'm taking the long way to say that I completely blame the mainstream media for this type of incident, and I'll elaborate further. But I'm highly enraged, and I'm pointing all the fingers in the world directly at the mainstream media.
Um, I may not. I usually just have everything on monetization because that's the way my settings are. I may take this one off because there is a news report. Okay, now I'm going to ask you if you think this is true because this is what I was going to say for. I had notes that are across the room, which is what I always do. But I meant to say this like years ago, Prof. Back, I mean, it's been a long time ago when my daughter was an infant, and you're up every 2 hours, and I had to sleep. Long story short, I had to sleep in a recliner. And so the TV was on. And I started noticing that, I would play things like the news. I didn't want shows because you would get the, you know, infomercials in the middle of the night and it would wake you up and you'd be like, Sham wow. And I'd be like, oh my God, that kind of stuff.
Sorry.
And so I would leave it on something even like CNN or something like that. And I remember, being up with my daughter at dark 30 in the morning and hearing weird things, like weird news reports that I would be like, what? What in the heck? And I would be listening to this in depth thing. And, I was married at the time, and I would tell my husband about it the next day. And I'd say, look, guess what happened, or whatever. And you couldn't find it anywhere. CNN never replayed it. They might do it for like an hour in the middle of the night, and then the story would just go away. And, the first couple of times it happened, I thought, I don't know what, that was just odd. But then I realized like they're doing this on purpose because it happened all the time and you would never hear it when most people are awake. And so, you'd have to really, really look for it on the internet. And I thought, this is odd. So CNN can say they reported on this. Technically they did. They just did it when nobody was going to be watching it. And so I started, like trying to watch the news in the middle of the night to see what was going on. And so that's my first tip, okay? Watch the news in the middle of the night. Of course, now we've got so much stuff, Sky News, and, I watch a lot of stuff. The second thing, and I don't know if you do this, Prof, but about 12, 13 years ago, I realized that if I watched the American news from a different country, like I watch an Australian or some other kind of news outlet rather than the American ones, I found out far more about my country than mainstream media US was talking about. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh yeah, especially with the Australia and some others, BBC even and Reuters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the reason I said I may not, I may just put this one, I might even put it on private when we're done. I do have a report. It's horrendous. And I was just watching, I didn't watch all of it, but it's got a lot of stuff in there that YouTube will not like me for. And that's why my thumbnail, everything, I didn't even want to say what I was talking about because have you heard already that people are getting censored for talking about this assassination attempt.
Yeah, I saw some guys being reticent to show the moment the shots were fired. But I gotta say, I've suffered no consequences. I mean, I played a lot of it last night, and I think like I was immediately demonetized on that video. But I don't care about what's the dollar
Right.
35 from the ads on the video.
Not much.
But but no, that will definitely they'll probably turn the ads off on the video. But I don't care. I really don't. I'm at the point where I don't care. I mean the I'd rather talk about what I feel, especially calling out the mainstream media because I've been keeping that in for quite a while on just all the things, but especially the hateful language and the gaslight. I just think we're entering a new world, a new time for
Mm-hmm.
our society where we're going to have to turn around and face the monster directly in the eyes, and that's the mainstream media. I mean, we know they're all controlled by a single kind of conglomerate at the top, and they all have the same talking points, and they've been doing this for years now, and they're legally allowed to propagandize the citizens of the United States, and it's enraging because you always see these school shooters, these types that this guy was. It's always the same type, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they're always the people who are triggered by the mainstream media's propagandizing, and they're vulnerable individuals who end up they go off the deep end and they commit acts like this, and I think it's time to
Yeah.
start turning around and calling them out and holding them responsible for creating this environment. And that's where I'm at. And I'm sorry, I don't want to take over your show with politics.
No, no, I want you to talk as much as you want to because I mean, I have some stuff I'm going to play and I may just go ahead and play the whole when we get to that part. I've got several things that whole video from Sky News Australia that I was watching. Oh my gosh. I was getting enraged. And maybe you already played it, but I was like, "Oh, this is infuriating." Um, yeah, so EAS said I lived overseas for 12 years. Yeah. I used to, and I think it's called RT News. It's
Russia
Russian.
today, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another good
And
news source. Yeah.
yes, it is. And do you know, I didn't know that they were, at least for here, they're based in Atlanta, like CNN. So I was like, huh, interesting. Um, And so, I caught a lot of flack from my friends back years ago when I said, if you want to know what's going on, then watch RT because then you're going to see,
Yeah.
what's going on in our country.
And even Al Jazeera for a lot of the Middle Eastern news. If you watch the
Mm-hmm.
American version of Al Jazeera and then the Sky News Australia and others, like it's a shame that it takes going outside of the American mainstream media system to get some, at least some more balance to what you're given through the three-letter agencies. Yeah.
Yes. And for y'all that don't know, which I don't have mine set this way, but if you don't know, you can set your computer to another country. Actually, people do that for other reasons. But if your computer thinks that you're in Australia, and especially if you use a VPN, whatever, it's very confusing. But then you can bypass a lot of stuff. Um, Hello, Carol. Speaking of a Carol, let me say this to y'all who have followed me for a while because I saw that who was it? Was it Hiawatha that was talking about um MK Ultra, Project Mockingbird. Yeah. Uh, y'all know if you saw my two interviews with Carol Stanhope last year, and she is an MK Ultra survivor, and I keep in touch with her. She texts me and calls me periodically, and I got some great news that I want to share. Congrats to Carol. She said this is crazy because like not a whole lot of people even saw that interview, and I'm like, well, Carol, I think I had just gotten monetized, and that's about the time I started being shadow banned because I was talking about a lot of stuff they didn't want me to talk about. But I said, you know what? Maybe 10 years from now, somebody will see this interview and it'll help, them know that they can escape. Well, lo and behold, Somebody saw that interview from, I don't know which one, she said a mainstream publisher who contacted her this week and wants to, because she was working on a second book. And so they want her to kind of ghostwrite and they want to publish her. All from, I'm like, how did they find my video out of all the stuff they could have been looking at? You know?
Power of the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm such a tiny channel. You would have thought they would have found somebody somewhere else. But I'm like, I am so happy. She still, whew, she has it tough every day. Hey, Four Pets, what's up? So anyway, yeah. So if y'all don't know, change your computer to another country, and see what happens. And look at some other news reports because you're gonna find a lot of stuff. It's like we are getting. I feel like Prof, and I've had some viewers from outside of the United States that they have a lot more freedom, it seems, than we do. You know?
Yeah, it's amazing the stranglehold that this contingent has upon the media. It's just I'm at the point where I get my news from browsing YouTube news and then browsing Twitter news. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I don't go and search out Twitter and search out YouTube voices, uh, I know that when I turn on the mainstream media, I'm only going to get one perspective, and it's going to be the opposite of reality perspective. So, when I watch them, I say, "Oh shit, okay, that's the talk." Well, pardon the language, but that's the talking points this week.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then I have to go everywhere else and figure out what else is really happening, and then sort of
Yeah.
get my bearings. But I mean, honestly, with this yesterday, like I said, I was watching it live, but immediately the feed cut off once the Secret Service pulled him out of there, and so I threw the remote down. I got on the phone with a buddy who's pretty sharp. I called him, and then I got on Twitter and I started searching out Twitter because I knew that wasting my time on YouTube or the television wasn't going to teach me anything about what was breaking. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to Twitter and to these other places, and it's a shame that it's come to that. But I think
Yeah.
it's time for the people. Like the people have been 10 years behind in figuring this out, and I think people are finally starting to come around to realizing that they're spoon-fed one version, and that's the reality we're living in, like I said, and I'm holding them accountable for all of this type of violence, even 4 years ago and 6 years ago and 10 years ago. I mean, in the past, since we've been adults, they've controlled this whole narrative, and people are responding to the inflammatory environment they've created.
I have no idea what just happened, Prof. But we are frozen. I don't know.
Oh, I see you're frozen. Yeah.
From my end, you're frozen too. I don't know if anybody can hear us.
Well, I'll stick around till looks like Silky's version. I mean, on Silky's end, it's glitching. I see that. I think I'm still coming through. Yeah. While she's coming back, I'll say hello to everyone in the chat. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
All right. I hear you, Silky.
Hello?
Yeah, coming through loud and clear.
Okay.
There you are.
Can anybody hear me? What happened to Prof? I lost Prof.
Oh, I'm
I
still
lost
here.
everything.
I see me. Uh-oh.
Okay. Uh, I have not one clue what happened. Somebody type in chat if y'all can see me, if y'all can hear me. Because it looks like the stream is still going. Prof is still there. Really? I can't see Prof. Hold on. I can't add him to the stage. Because he's not there. Prof, if you can hear me, back out and try to come in again.
Okay, let's see.
This is weird.
Uh-oh.
You know what? The only time... okay, wait. Prof said something. Okay, okay, I'm gonna take you out.
Okay.
Wait. I don't know if I can take you out and... Okay. Prof, I kicked you out. Let me... This should be the same... This should be the same link, but I'm going to put it in Discord again. Oh, never mind. It is the same link. I don't need to do that. Yeah, just come back in, Prof. I have not a clue what happened. Y'all, I want to tell you something. The last time this happened and my stream shut down, like out of nowhere, strangely enough, was when I was interviewing Carol Stanhope. Wow. Okay. Okay, there's Prof. There he is.
Oh, okay.
That is so weird. Like, literally, there is no reason for this. I do have 2 monitors up, but that is bizarre. Like I was saying, the only time that this has ever, like, you get freezes sometimes on StreamYard, but, the only time it's ever shut down is when I was interviewing Carol Stanhope. Strangely enough, when we were talking about, what we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Might have hit that algorithm. So I see Carol's in the chat, it looks like.
Is that... Oh, yeah, she is. Oh, okay. Hey, Carol. Did you hear me talking about you? I was talking about... I was giving everybody your good news. So I'm so excited. So excited for her. Yeah. Strange. I blame the hacker. You never know. I thought it was weird, but I was kind of new when this happened to me and Carol. I was pretty new at live streaming, and so I thought, okay, I guess this happens sometimes. No, it doesn't happen. Like freezing, yes. The whole stream shutting down when you don't touch any buttons, no, that doesn't happen. All right, unless you're just out of internet, but, I haven't moved. So what were we saying? Yeah, Prof, what were you talking about?
Oh, gosh, I can't remember.
I can't either.
So we're talking about the mainstream media being, creating an environment where this kind of extremism breeds,
Yeah. And I mean, if you don't think so, I will play a video later. And I want to leave it up, but I might private it just because I'm just now getting back in the good graces of the powers that be. Not that it really matters, but okay. I want to play. Okay, I want to show some pictures though. These are some things. Okay, well, let me start with this, Prof. When I was watching it, okay, I had some questions because way back in the day, I was working in the downtown area of Charlotte, North Carolina, in one of the big buildings. They call it Uptown Charlotte instead of downtown. But my job was one of the fancy buildings in downtown. And this is before I became a nurse. So that was a long time ago. But anyway, they were having, I think, if I remember correctly, it was George H.W. Bush. He was going to be dry. I don't know what was going on. I wasn't really into politics at the time, but he was going to be passing down our small, downtown street. And so it was a big deal. Like, it was a huge deal. And, we had for a week prior, there were all these announcements. We had a lot of people looking around the buildings. And we're talking about a lot of buildings. These aren't just, one or two buildings. This is tons of buildings in the downtown area, everywhere his route was going to go. And we had all this extra presence, and so the our managers told us, like, don't be upset if you see a lot of police presence, there's nothing going on, but this is scheduled for next week. And then they gave us the option, like they said, at a certain time you can either leave early and take, lose the hours, or you can, and go home, or you can stay but know that you're going to be here until whenever, because I think he was driving by around 5 o'clock, or right around the time you'd be trying to leave anyway. And so they said, we're shutting down everything, you're not going to be able to leave the building. You can stand at the window and watch, but there's going to be people just checking out a whole lot of stuff, so it's up to you. And I'm thinking, look, he's just going down the street. Like, he's not stopping in front of the building, he's just going. And I left early. I'm like, deuces, y'all. I don't want to watch a car. Like, big woo. A
Well,
car is driving down the street. Okay. I mean, I've seen videos of the motorcades before. But when I was watching this, I kept thinking about that. And I was like, wait a second. Wait a second. I know what it was like just for the car, the limo to pass. And we got a week's notice, and everybody was checked for everything. How is President Trump, and he's not just a candidate, I mean, he is now, but he is a former president who has Secret Service and, bodyguards the rest of his life, and he needs like triple anyway. Like, how did somebody, like, I'm like, this is not right. This is not standard procedure. Not the way that I understood it back when HW was president. And
yeah.
so that was my whole thing when I was looking at this. Let me put this one up here. Uh okay, so I took some pictures off the internet, different places, so you could see. Okay, so this building right here with the blue box, the big blue box, that was where the shooter was. And you see, like, look, this is so close. Everything is so close. You tell me, I think I heard that it was 130 yards.
Which for a 5.56 is the easiest shot in the world. Let me just say that.
Right. I'm like, how? But there are some interviews, and now I saw them several times, and I will play them later. I saw them several times, and then all of a sudden, when you try to watch them and somebody tries to play them on YouTube or even Twitter, you get a shutdown. Like, they won't play. And I'm
YouTube's
like,
horrible for the censorship. Uh,
yes.
yeah, my theory is you got one or two options. One of two. It's either a conspiracy or it's the greatest catastrophic failure of Secret Service since the organization was formed. It's one of the two. And because
Yes.
primary first day training is high ground. For anyone who's I have family members from the military who were riflemen. Okay, high ground, primary day one training. Uh, that those rooftops, there's no excuse whatsoever in the entire world.
Hmm. That's interesting, Kelly. That's interesting.
I have a story about the Secret Service. I don't even know if you mind if I tell it before we go on.
Oh, no, absolutely. Tell it.
You might. It's similar to yours, okay? And this is just for the people who have not had firsthand experience with Secret Service, so that you can understand. If you've never come across them, I'll tell you my quick story. It's similar to Silky's. Okay, so in the 2000s, I was an elementary school teacher. Okay, and I was in a wonderful, amazing elementary school with a wonderful, amazing staff. And as you know, at the time, the Bushes were in the presidency, and uh, and Mrs. Bush was a former librarian, I believe. Is that correct in your memory?
Yes,
The former school
that's
teacher.
that's
Okay,
what I
so
thought.
there was some program where she was going to come in to our school building for some reason to do something. Maybe she had donated money, or there was for some reason she was coming into our school to do an appearance. And so you're exactly right. It was a, a week ahead to the day. The entire Secret Service detail came into our school. Okay, so they came into the school, they did a briefing to all of us teachers. They said, "Hi, we're going to be in here for a week uh, until the day that she comes. And you're going to know us very well by the end of the week. We're going to be in the building, embedded." And it was like about a 7-person detail. So for an entire week, we got to know the Secret Service very well by name, because they would eat lunch with us. They would be in the building 24/7, before school, after school. They were in every classroom. They sat in my classes, and I was politically. I was an anti-Busher. Okay, so I had determined that on the day that she appeared, I would take a sick day. So I already notified the principal, "Hey, when she shows up, I'm out of here. I'm taking that day off," which I did. But for that entire week leading up to that day, that entire detail knew every inch of that building, and every staff member, and every one of the security guards, the janitors, the cafeteria workers. There's and that was just for the first lady to come and spend an afternoon in the school. Okay, so that's the level of personnel you're dealing
Right.
with in preparation. So I
You
don't
would
understand.
think, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, like you said, based on, okay, you're going to be out in the open. We know what happens. We have a history of, this. Um, you should, especially when you're out in a field like that, I would assume that the perimeter of where law enforcement or whomever was going to be would be at the furthest shooting distance. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
you're very brilliant, because that's exactly how the strategic security details work. You have a first cordon and a second. So what they do is they calculate the 600-yard distance is the practical range for the AR-15. So usually they have a 600-yard perimeter. That's your first cordon, and then they have an inner perimeter, which is going to be inside of that. There's individuals stationed throughout that who are former infantry who handle that detail, and then you have your close to the president detail would be your A team, B team, and a strike force ready to go, or in a van waiting behind stage. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the 600-yard mark is your usual. Now, because he's a former president and he's probably dealing with a reduced contingent, maybe that wasn't applied. I don't understand why those rooftops weren't covered either way. And when you look at the footage, you can see that the spotters, the snipers on the rooftops, they are looking in the direction of where that shooter was. So it's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah. I when I realized how close he was, I was flabbergasted. I mean, and I would say the same about any candidate or any president. You know, I would expect the same. And it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat, Republican, whatever. If you have a former president there and somebody who, I mean, let's face it, there is controversy all the time. But no matter who was there, I would expect the same amount of security and protection for anybody. And I would expect it to be impossible when you're out in the open for someone to get close enough to, you know, to do what he did. And so, I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. When even yesterday, I thought either there's something wrong, somebody, it's either a conspiracy, and I don't like to jump onto that, or it is the worst goof up that we've ever seen. And that is hard for me to believe as much as the Secret Service is trained and all these people around the presidents. I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's a series of unfortunate events,
Yeah,
but
I was going to just say that we don't know, and I'm not shirking responsibility from any party, but maybe everyone just got lax, because they've done how many rallies has Trump done in the past 8 years? Like, he's done so many rallies, so maybe it's to the point where everyone was just lax. But I cannot believe
yeah.
that rooftop. I mean, when I looked at the aerial view, like you were showing, and there's some others that
Hmm.
there's not. I mean, there's only a few more buildings. Like, there's a few buildings. I don't understand how all of those buildings weren't covered. It's not like there's 30 buildings, like it's in the middle of a city, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I was flabbergasted at this. Um, Horrified. I mean, and this is something that somebody from the crowd took, that's him. So you're telling me, well, of course, as you know, if you've watched some of these interviews that they're now, you know, censoring, you'll see that people tried to let the police know. And clearly somebody took this, this was there before, because he's alive in that picture. There are some, I got them off Twitter, but I will not show them. There are some
Yeah,
terrible,
terrible.
uh,
Have you seen the report that just broke a little before we spoke today? That an
mm-mm.
officer actually made it up to the roof, encountered the guy, and the guy turned around, pointed the rifle at him, and the officer scurried away.
No.
Yeah, just moments before he then turned around and shot Trump. Yeah, true.
Oh my God.
So it's unbelievable security failure. Unbelievable. I am just floored.
So who was that officer? Was he like a regular policeman? Was he
Yeah,
Secret
yeah.
Service?
One of the locals that were there to help with the security.
What? I mean, I understand it's a small town and they don't encounter things like this, but really, if you, I mean, if a crime like that happened, if you're chasing down a criminal, that's what you do. Oh, sorry, buddy, excuse me. Carry on. I mean, what, what insanity is that?
It's like the story's getting crazier by the hour. Everything that breaks, it's more and more crazy. I know.
Oh my God. No, I didn't hear that. I was, trying to upload stuff. I was almost got it, but okay, here's let me make this bigger for a second if I can. Um, this is, of course, he's already. I wonder if that's the police officer that saw him. Is
Could
that a
be.
regular?
Could be. Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Interesting.
But
Jeez.
Silky, there exists thermal scopes,
Mm-hmm.
FLIR. There's drones. There's the spotters. You're not only a sniper, but a spotter on the other roofs. It's just inconceivable to me. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. I, I I know. I think I was watching stuff. I was watching different creators last night and different news reports, and I thought about going live, and I'm just like, I could not wrap my head around the ridiculousness. I thought, I've got to get my thoughts together.
Let me get my head straight.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so, I pulled this from Reddit, but I found this interesting because, I can't see y'all's comments for just a second. Okay. Of course, that's, Thomas Matthew Crooks. We know that. Um, but I like this part where it says, number 4, Crooks was not carrying any identification and had to be identified using DNA samples. Uh, and I'm like, wow, they can do that fast? I mean, I don't like how. I don't know. Do you have any idea what that how that could have happened? How can they get DNA so quick? And yet we look at all of these. I mean, I know they have like top priority, but still, like, we have all these major crimes, even like Idaho and stuff. And it's like, you had to wait and wait to find. I mean,
Right.
like, but of course they had good samples, clearly. But I was
So I
like,
would
how
assume
did you
it's
find
it's
that?
the it's like the Quantico instant DNA analysis tied into the federal database type of scenario. They saw who his family was as soon as they processed it last night. But I mean, it's and that's I I'm almost speechless. I don't know
Yeah.
what to say. It's I mean, when I look, okay, I looked at the way the guy was positioned. Like
Mm-hmm.
this guy knew what he was doing. It was planned. Now he missed the shot because I think God intervened. Like for me, I think there might have been a slight windage. His skills were probably not as refined as he thought, and then Trump turned his head. So there were many factors
Yes.
that caused the bullet to miss.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at how he's positioned, he's behind the apex of the roof of that building strategically so that only the barrel's pointing out and his eyes, his has his whole body hiding behind the apex of that roof. And
Yeah.
the fact that he got up there undeterred, he carried a full-size rifle up there undeterred. There were people for 5 minutes before saying that's a shooter that's just going up there, and no one stopped him, and even the local law enforcement, and no one, and a few commentators said we couldn't believe they didn't pull Trump off stage because they all are wearing these earpieces, and as soon as the local law enforcement saw that there's a shooter, it should have been like pull the guy off stage, but there's just a whole series of events that don't add up to me. But
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
All I can say is, no matter what, I just point right back at the mainstream media and say, look, somebody has to be put into check for like this atmosphere of uh, hatred and I mean, for 4 years, Trump was not president. Yet every time I clicked onto YouTube News, I told you I watch news on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. So every day when I click on YouTube News to see what the headlines are, every single day for the past 4 years, Trump's still in the headlines.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And it's not
Yeah.
positive. It was not.
No. Never. Never. Oh my gosh. Um. Yeah, Lee, I am too. I'm embarrassed for the U.S. right now. Um. Let me go back to, let's see. And this is just, I was just Reddit comments, but this is what I was thinking yesterday. A dude in camo laying out in the open on a white roof. Like, what is the Secret Service doing these days? Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's not like he couldn't be seen. I mean, I know he was kind of, but I mean, well, you'll see interviews where people saw him, hopping through the buildings. Um, that's wild incompetence. Not only should they have seen him, they probably should have been on the roof themselves. That right there, Prof. I cannot fathom why there wasn't a shooter, a protective shooter, Secret Service or somebody as snipers. Why wasn't there already, you know, security on every roof? That is mind blowing to me.
Yeah, that's
I
a
would
good
just
point.
expect it.
I was watching some military strategists or some, I don't want to say which channels, but there were some military personnel who do YouTube channels and they discuss strategy and the fire teams and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
they were saying that it's typically a triangulated team of snipers. So you'll have a triangulation. So someone should have been on those buildings because you always want 2 points of fire at one threat. Uh,
Right.
and so, yeah, you're absolutely right. The pretty much the building he was on, there should have been another sniper team there to have your three marked shooters. Uh, I don't know.
I mean, you see even in the movies, you see when like there's always people everywhere with guns to watch and to take out somebody. So, yeah, to me, I in my opinion, if it was just a flub up, you know, it was there are no words for me to say how incompetent that arrangement was.
Everyone should be fired, and some should
Yes.
be convicted of crimes of malfeasance or at the top. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. It's mind-boggling. I think,
And
and then
I
there's
would say that about
nobody.
anybody, either party. I would say the same thing.
Nobody, nothing here is making the comment that it blew my mind too. That Crooks was in a BlackRock commercial some years ago, and it's true. It's true.
Who was?
The shooter has been identified as being in a BlackRock commercial some years ago.
Really? Oh my
Another
gosh.
oddity.
Yeah, oh my gosh. The conspiracy with that one is going to run wild. And I mean, I don't know. If y'all don't know anything about BlackRock, that's for another day. But that is, whew, whew, whew. Oh, okay, I see that. I was looking for that comment to highlight. Um, that's extremely odd to me. You know, there's my. I'm gonna break out my tinfoil hat here in just a second. But yes, but that is very very sus. Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, this one I saw this and this I don't know. I don't know. Take it what you will. I don't know if it's true. If it is, but this red circle, I don't know. Let me make it as big as I can for y'all. That supposedly shows a bullet, the trajectory of a bullet going past. Um, and I'll say the same thing that you did, Prof. Just a minute ago. Well, that's my train of thought just left. But oh, I know what it was. You were talking about. I watched when I saw him grab his ear. That's the first thing I thought. I went back and I watched the video very slowly of the moment that or right before he grabs his ear. And I mean, really, I think a lot of people said they thought it was firecrackers and stuff. Yeah, we just got off the 4th of July. So, this is a sound that we're more accustomed to at the moment. But I noticed I was watching Trump's head and how for just a minute, he kind of stayed stationary. And I'm thinking that is the moment that the shooter thought, okay, I've got him. And then he does just a quick move this way before he goes back. And I think it is that slight movement that literally saved his life.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was just, hey, I'm all over the place when I talk. So, you know, my head's bobbing every which way. I'd be a hard target. but but yeah, he was real stationary, and I thought that he probably thought this is the moment,
Full
and then
now.
Trump
Yeah.
moves. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Um.
I agree. Which I mean, thank goodness for the screen on the right because I noticed he was looking. He was looking at a screen, a big screen. So when he turned to read off that screen, that's the moment. But could you pull that photo back up because
Yeah.
that is a legit photo from what all those sources are saying. The mainstream sources are even promoting this photo now. And just imagine look at how that thing is cooking.
Yeah.
Imagine if that had entered his skull. You
That would
know,
have been it. That would have been it.
those things when those 556 or 223 when they enter the human body, they immediately tumble. That's why they're so effective, because they're small and lightweight, but they cook. And so it would have entered his skull and immediately done a horrible thing in there. You know,
Yeah.
uh, and it's just I mean, how else do you say it but divine intervention? It wasn't his time. You know, it wasn't his time.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, that's what I think too. And they said, I was watching some of the reports that of the guy that was unalived behind Trump. Um, the doctor, the ER doctor that happened to be there, that was trying to help him at the moment, said, of course, it was bad, and but they said he said he saw the entrance wound, but he did not see an exit wound.
To
So
who?
that to the one that passed away, to the
Gentleman who
victim that
died.
passed away.
Oh,
Yeah,
terrible.
that's what the ER doc said. Entrance he saw, but no exit. So that's, I assume, what would have happened with Trump as well. And there was no saving that guy. That was, you
Yeah,
know,
and I just feel so horrible for him. Like the fact that he has two daughters, and if you think about, I put myself in a real meditative position today, and I was thinking how think about that guy. Like it's to the point now where you're no longer safe to go to a political event, because now just by attending, you're putting your life at risk. I'm sure that was not on his mind when he woke up and went out there, that I'm putting myself at risk. But that's why I'm so irate today about the mainstream media, because every one of those individuals that was at risk, and now you have two old ladies, I believe. I don't remember who the other victims are who are not dead, but you got a couple elderly people, quote unquote, who are injured, and
yeah.
you have your dead guy who was I wish I could remember his name at the moment, but he's the
Yeah, I saw it. I don't have
firefighter
it up
with
here.
father
Mhm.
of two girls. I mean,
Yeah. That he placed himself over his wife and kids, like he threw himself to protect them, but he was shot. And yeah, it was horrible. I can't remember his name either. I saw that right as I was trying to upload something and I couldn't grab that
oh, I have it
picture.
here. Yeah, it's Corey Comparatori, something like that.
Okay.
Comparatori, Corey Comparatori, former fire chief of Buffalo Township.
Wow.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, can you imagine? Because I would think at a rally, I mean, if I were attending, I would think this is the safest place on earth.
You
Because
would
look at all the Secret Service. Like, nobody's going to do anything here.
you would think.
Yeah, it's beyond comprehension. Um, let's see. Um, let's see. Let me get to the next one. Okay, that's about his DNA. This, well, I thought I had another slide of what they were saying, the response. This right here, I don't know if this is him. I take it with what you will. Um, but this was, I mean, if it's not made up, is this the old Twitter? It looks like the old Twitter.
Can I say
Maybe.
something here too before you move on from that?
Sure.
Yeah, so life sucks. Call of Duty lover. I mean, this is like the profile for a school shooter here. And
Exactly.
the word, there was a former classmate of his who came on and did a video today, or an interview, saying that this guy was bullied every single day of school when he was in school. So that's your type. You're bullied, you're abused, you're beat on, spat on. Life sucks, but you go home in the basement, you play Call of Duty, and you become a school shooter or assassin. You know.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Prof, and I know, and his father is a counselor. His name is Matthew Crooks. He's a counselor, and I feel horrible for that family as well. I mean, I can't imagine like to know that your son, did this, and then he's not alive. Like it's got to be horrible for them, and I don't mean to take away from that.
No, and you
Um,
can't blame. I also don't blame the parents whatsoever. Uh,
No, no, I don't either at all. I mean, and he was 20 years old. But what do you know at 20? You think you know everything, and you get older and you realize I didn't know anything. Um, but I will say this, and I know that's true about a lot of the school shooters. But here's the thing: it depends. I guess it depends on a lot of factors. But and there are things that I don't talk about very often. Some of my people, my regular people, know that I talk sometimes. Look, I came from a very, very abusive household, extremely abusive in every way you can think of. I was also bullied in school because I was then exactly like I am now. Um, Only now I hope I'm a lot smarter, but
Austin and funny? What do you mean?
no, I mean, I was very, like, I spoke my mind. I
Hmm.
did not fall into the norms. I didn't dress like everybody else. I did my own, completely my own
I see.
thing.
I see.
And that doesn't work in high school. I mean, I was extremely, extremely bullied. My car was keyed. I mean, my locker was vandalized. I got death threats, like literal death threats, which my principal would not do anything about any of this. All right. And so I just lived with that.
Hmm.
And yes, was I different? Yes. Did I have all these things that it was just ridiculous? Because I wasn't unkind to anybody. And but look, I didn't shoot up my school. I didn't go do this. Like there's another factor here
Yeah.
because it's not just okay, you had a really hard upbringing. I mean, I still knew right from wrong.
Yeah. True. Very, very true.
So it's like I'm on one hand I'm like, yeah, I understand he was in a lot of pain, but so was I. But I haven't shot up anything. I haven't threatened one person on YouTube.
Well, you're the rarity. The
I
exception to
mean,
the rule.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I understand, but at some point you cannot blame that. And you can't make an excuse because I believe that every person internally, you know right from wrong. You know? You should have some kind of internal compass that's like, okay, this is a really bad idea. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the parents had any kind of religion or any kind of more, I don't know. You know,
Mhm.
the dad was a counselor. You assume he's a good person. You don't know. We don't know anything. But it just, it bothers me that people want to say, oh, well, this is the reason. No, I call BS on that, as well as a lot of victims that want to be, look, you're a victim. You're a victim of a crime. Okay, I've been a victim many times. But the thing of it is you can stay a victim or you can flip yourself inside out and become an advocate
Mhm.
and a warrior. It just depends on how you're processing because I just don't. I guess I'm saying I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It's not an excuse. I'm sorry. I'm sorry he was, bullied, but still not an excuse. Um, okay, I'm bringing this up, Prof, because something else that was going through my head. Have you ever? Let me backtrack. Let me say that I am not a Simpsons fan. I've watched a bunch of episodes because it's been on when somebody else in my house was watching it. But I have never been a real Simpsons fan. Um, But when I was watching, I've watched a lot of things on the Mandela effect and whatever, because I my brain goes a little bit of everywhere. Um, and have you ever seen those videos where the Simpsons have actually like said things that wild things that have come to pass?
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's
Lots of
like
predictions.
a lot of predictions, and the one I think that gets me the most when it comes to Trump is the Simpsons episode where he's going down the elevator, and it's got like every oh my gosh, if you ever watch those videos, the pictures that they have, like the real pictures, are identical to the cartoon that was years and years and years before that. It's like, people are saying, are the Simpsons predicting the future? Do they know something? And so I was actually thinking about that while I had, because I'm ADD, like I have every thought combining at one time in my head. So I'm thinking about the Secret Service. I'm thinking about, when HW came to the office, and I'm thinking about, how what protocol is. And I'm also thinking about the Simpsons. Wait a second. Didn't the Simpsons say this? And so I've seen this on their predictions like a bunch of times. But yet, when I was looking for it today, I'm like, what episode was that? Now they're saying The Simpsons, that this has been circulating around the internet, but The Simpsons never actually had a show like this. Some people swear it was in August of 2020,
I don't,
but
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. And I'm
No.
like, is this a Mandela thing? Like, what is this? What is this? And then, do y'all know what I'm talking about with The Simpsons? I mean, it's crazy. Uh, but there's another one. Yeah, this was from X, but they underestimated him. Yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, let me pull this off here for just a second. All right, because the next one, while we're talking about weirdness, in this last week, Prof, and maybe other people have seen it like before, but literally in the last 7 to 10 days, it doesn't matter what platform I am scrolling on, whether it's Facebook, whether it's uh, I'm not on Instagram very often, but even YouTube, whatever social media, and even when I'm going through whatever, watching news articles, I keep seeing these outfits, like clothes for you to buy, and they all look like this. Sometimes the shirts are worse, but this right here, okay, this is, it
What the
says,
heck? I've never even
yes,
seen anything like that.
it says I'm fine. I'm gonna make it bigger for just a second. It says I'm fine. Now this is, I mean, look at this. I'm fine. Now the other ones that I have seen are, they say something similar, but the whole shirt is drenched. It looks like it's got the red stuff everywhere, drenched in it. Looks like you've either participated in a crime or you've been the victim of a crime. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I mean, when it first started popping up in my ads, like if you're on Facebook, you see an ad every third, you see like two people that and then four ads. Um, and I'm like, I don't look for stuff like this, okay? It's not like I was Googling Halloween shirts or anything like that. I this started popping up. And I'm like, this is sick. Who would wear a shirt like this? And then I pulled that picture because literally I was trying to, it must have been on Reddit or somewhere. I was trying to, just find some stuff, and that picture popped up, and I'm like, I'll be dadgummed. How many outfits I have seen in the last week right before this happened? I
Weird.
mean,
Weird.
it is weird. I'm going to show it again one time, because another time, because Look, that does that not look like a bullet?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Wow.
I know. I saw that
Did
and
you
I'm
hear the
like,
Did you hear the Brendan Biggs prophecy from a few months ago? That one's
oh
mind blowing.
no.
Did you hear that? Oh,
No, but I listened to something by him because I really don't know who he is, but I did see something today. Tell me
let's
what it was.
see if I can pull it up and play it. It's Let's see.
Can you
Uh,
let me make sure? Let's see. Let me make sure you can stream to your own. Let's see. You can.
well, I mean,
Uh,
I'll just put it in the microphone so if you
or if
want.
you want to, you can put it in the private chat over here if you've got a link, and I can play it. I thought I used
Oh,
to use Evie Mux. It might be Evie Mux that a guest can share screen.
okay. Let's see if I can just uh, figure this one out. Let's see. Okay, so this
fire for Jesus.
Okay, this is 3 months ago. It's a very brief thing, but it's like a minute long. But this was 3 months ago, and I went back today and I watched the entire live stream. But listen
Mm-hmm.
to this from 3 months ago.
All throughout America, all throughout, and I saw Trump rising up, and then I saw an attempt on his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking. People say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus for what I saw coming. And then I saw people interceding when I saw him winning the presidency through great. The Lord showed me it would go clear into the summer. Great persecution would come on him through the judges and through the law and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff. But there would be a stop to it, and there things would start to break free come toward the fall. And then I saw him winning the election through the Patriots coming out and voting, and all throughout America, all throughout. And I saw Trump rising up, and then I saw.
Okay, there's a little more to the
Wow.
clip, but I'll stop it where he's basically saying it's going to hit his ear, and he saw blood coming out of his ear, and I mean that's an amazing vision he had, and the way this guy
Yes.
has visions when he's praying or he's sleeping and wakes up, and
Can you type his name in the chat so everybody can
oh
find
yeah,
him?
sure. I can put a link to the video. That's what I'll
Oh
do.
yeah. Yeah.
But
Wow.
I'm sure everyone would love to go check this out in their leisure. Let's see.
Wow.
Oh, let's see. I'm not the best at YouTube. Okay. See if that works.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there
you
we
go about
go.
the 11-minute mark to that video.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you can't get more accurate than that, can you?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's
Wow. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I do believe in all that, but I didn't hear that. Wow. Uh, wow. And then Sherry Faye is saying last days has given many accurate prophecies. See, I honestly, which y'all know, I'm probably going to change my trajectory here on Silky Southern. I've been doing true crime, and we didn't even want to talk about God was all up in my pancakes this morning about some stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But anyway, so I have not been listening to a whole lot of prophecies, and I prefer to listen to people who are not more unknown. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all know, you've been watching my channel. You know how I feel about these mega churches and all the BS that's been going on, and I unfortunately will be talking some more about that. Ugh, it's disgusting, but Yeah, I'm going to check that out for sure. Thanks for sharing that, Prof. That's amazing. That is amazing. Whew. Jeez. All right. I'm going to play this. I'm going to do a...
You know,
Let me make sure the media saw this, and let me do something else too. Just to... so I don't get a strike. Hold on just a second. Put that on there. Let me throw some banners and all kind of stuff in here just so I can make it obviously not so it's fair use. All right. Okay. But this video is the guy that this is the one that they keep trying to shut down now. And I've seen this video a bunch, but I copied it. I downloaded it on my phone.
you know, we're guy on the roof with a rifle. Minutes of Trump speaking. Probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know. But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second. Because he could clearly see him. So what is the problem? How come the Secret Service didn't see him? Why didn't how's this guy in the crowd and he sees him, but they don't?
We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service.
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean all the cops have radios.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some other guys in here that, talk about this too. Some of this I just recorded on my phone, but you can see there's like a whole big mess with this. But yeah, I'm sitting here listening to this guy, and if y'all haven't seen it, if you didn't see it early, you might not ever see it because they keep banning it. But yeah, because they don't want people to know that, that's the thing, Prof. He's standing there saying, he's pointing and telling them, hey, there's a guy on the roof with a gun.
Buckeye Clay fan says, might be better to have that guy in charge of security than
Yeah, you're right, Buckeye. You're right. Absolutely.
The guys, the cops are running around like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Hey, he's on the roof.
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy.
It's mind-boggling. I just can't conceive. I mean, like I said, my opinion, it's either the greatest conspiracy you can imagine, or it's the most catastrophic failure of Secret Service or presidential security you've ever seen in your life. I don't know how to choose.
Yeah, I don't either, because I mean, honestly, at this point, we don't have enough information to say it's one or the other, or which one. It is definitely one or the other, no question. There's only 2 answers to this. I I don't know if it's a conspiracy. I may run past what he
PSP and the
says.
FBI, that will very quickly be followed up on.
I was up at the fence line.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Saw the guy move from roof to roof. Told an officer that he was on the roof. The officer come looking. I went back to where I was standing. Heard that there was somebody that could see the person, so I went back to where they were standing. Saw the person. Went back and told the officer again that if he goes back to that particular spot, he can see the person, figuring that he would go in radio. And when I turned around to go back to where I was is when the gunshots started, and then it was just chaos, and we all came running away. And
when I was sitting there, a guy said, "Oh God, he had a gun." I looked up, there's a guy on top of the building, right over there, with an M16, with a blanket, pointing at the president. He starts shooting. Bow, 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 bow. About 4 to 5 shots rang out. All right, so I throw the guy I'm with, Jim, onto the ground. I jump to the ground. I look up, and then I see his head get split open by the shot from the Secret Service. All the cops started flying over, pushing us out. They pushed me off to the side because I was right there and I was able to see everything. They took my name, my witness report, and everything like that, my cell phone number, just to get in touch with me to go over what happened.
This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well.
When former President Trump got out, he had some blood on his face. And I don't know if that was from the Secret Service tackling him, or I don't know what that was from.
All right, I'm gonna give me just a minute while your comments. While I'm looking at, I'm gonna go ahead and play a report from in just a minute from Australia, Sky News, I think it is. We'll see. It's brutal. It's brutal with their roasting us. And let me say, I'm not upset about it. They're right. They're right. It is, there is some graphic parts, I think, to that. But go ahead and tell me what are your thoughts on what these people said?
Well, I mean, I have nothing to add. It speaks for itself. I mean, you know what? Sherry Faye had an amazing comment that said, "Isn't it bizarre how Britain media got info out faster than America?" Yeah. And
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, Christy is saying, as an officer, isn't the moment someone says something like that the moment you hit the radio? That's what I'm saying. And why isn't it? Aren't the radios for the local sheriffs or whoever is there doing ancillary security, aren't they tied into the Secret Service in a coordinated fashion or something, so that there's a circle of communication? I mean, I just don't see how this happens unless someone looks the other way, or unless it's all a bunch of retards. Pardon the expression.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, seriously, I know exactly what you're saying, because look, that's what I thought when he said, when the first guy or the second guy says, "I told the policeman," and the policeman's like, and he walks away and he walks back and he says something again. I'm just thinking, if I'm a police officer, the first thing I would do is get on my radio and, say, hey, I mean, but yeah, aren't you all on the same band? Aren't you all, like, because you would have to.
And the guy said, like, the first guy with the red funny hair thing, he said, like, for 5 minutes. That's basically the whole time Trump was up on the stage. So basically, like, as soon as Trump got to the stage, the guy climbed up on the roof. So, like, this whole time, the guy's like, yo, this is happening. And for 5 minutes, they don't do something about it. It's, wow.
Yeah. I mean, Incompetence is too mild, in my opinion. It's too mild of a word. Incompetence, no. Gross negligence, at least. I don't even know if I have a word that would describe that level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then you had the officer who climbs up the ladder, who makes eye contact with the guy, and didn't even try to shoot at him or something to distract him, or he's so afraid of the AR that he hurries and backs down the ladder. But it's I mean, I think, like, the world is going to pick this apart, but ooh, it's bad from every angle. It's bad from every angle, man.
Oh, yeah, it is. And I'm going to show this. Let's see. I think this is it. Yeah. We're going to have to probably watch part of a commercial.
You have to make it. And if you want a...
It is a sad, sad day for America. It is hard to find the words to describe the shock and the horror that people are feeling right now, after many of us were witnessing on live television the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. This is a devastating day for America. Right now, people are pouring their hearts out on social media and posting "Pray for Trump." Many of the people I'm speaking with over there are feeling scared about how close this was. Looking at the still images, you can see the bullet that pierced his right ear as he gets up with blood smeared on his face.
Look what happened.
This horrific act has just deepened an already huge divide in the United States of America. But if you were following media outlets like CNN today, well, you would have thought that Donald Trump had a fall. Look at this headline. Secret Service rushed Trump off stage after he falls at rally. Falls. It was an assassination attempt. He's not Joe Biden that doesn't know how to stand up. And that's not a one-off headline. This morning, I was looking at my phone and I was taking screenshots because even though it's CNN, I still couldn't believe it. The next headline I saw, Trump injured in incident at rally. Incident. That's really what they wanted to go with when the man who's been president before and is running again was just shot. Oh, and there's more. Video captures what happened at Trump rally that left him injured.
Yeah,
Ooh,
total watering it down. Totally trying to pour water on fire. Yeah.
Exactly. I know. And I noticed that yesterday, honestly, when it was, I would say within the first hour of reporting. So I'm on my phone and I'm Googling, assassination attempt, Trump assassination attempt. Okay. You would think, Prof, that the most recent would come up. Oh, but no, I found news from 2016 where somebody was tackled in the crowd that had a weapon.
Yeah, totally suppressing that algorithm. It's like today they've already started to move on to the victim blaming and saying, well, he's created this violent atmosphere and been mean to people and da.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to play this this next thing, because they hit hard. Oh, I was sitting there. I felt personally roasted, but you know what? I'm like, they're not wrong. They're not wrong at all. Well, hold on. There we go.
It could be. CNN is using the video as clickbait while refusing to acknowledge what it is that just occurred, and that is an attempt to murder the man who is running for president, something that has not happened since 1981 when there was an assassination attempt on Republican President Ronald Reagan. I scroll further down CNN's website and I get to analysis.
And you know what? I've heard a lot of people, Prof, that are saying we haven't had this since JFK, and I'm thinking, hello, I've heard so many news outlets. I'm like, hello, 1981, Reagan.
Brady.
And Brady,
got Bill because of this assassination attempt at Reagan.
Exactly. And I have heard everybody in the world just skipping over that, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of news y'all are, but you obviously, you're out of touch.
And of course, there's this headline: Trump is favoured, but Biden can still win this election.
No,
Well, I really doubt that. But let's leave CNN for now. I have more to say about their coverage in a moment because it actually gets worse. And let's look at some of the other reaction we are seeing today. And remember, America is right now feeling the weight and the heartbreak of what has unfolded today. But Colorado Democrat Stephen Woodrow posted on X, "The last thing we need was sympathy for the devil, but here we are."
I mean, can you believe that?
What a piece of dirt.
Yes, 100%. And look, I would, again, I am not, I mean, y'all probably can tell I'm not a Biden fan. Look, I'm so, look, I'm so on the fence too. I mean, I think personally when Trump was elected the first time, I did vote for him because I didn't want Hillary. That was like, I'm voting against Hillary. I didn't expect Trump to be as good as he was, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's perfect. He's out there, as far as, he's not presidential. But whatever. He was, in my opinion, he was a good president. I was not a fan of Biden, and I'm still not. But especially, I wouldn't even as a human tweet something like that. Much less
about if it was the other way around.
Exactly.
How on earth can you say something like that?
And this guy is in the government. Like, how do you? Oh my God! How do you? Oh, but it gets worse.
Really classy. Comments like that are expected from troll accounts, but politicians, well, it really gives us an insight into how dark and how ugly some of the thinking and some of the attitudes are. And also how much hate there is for Donald Trump. So let's look at what some of the Democrats have said in the past. Have they ever called for political violence?
Attention retirees.
Oh, sorry, this
if you're
is the
willing
good
to
part.
be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45
I
a.m.
love that ads.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there, pulling up. I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
It is just disgusting. Now back to CNN, because according to them, despite surviving an assassination attempt, there's no legitimate threat to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump and the people around him perceive themselves to be under threat. And that's all that matters. That is not legitimate. That is wrong.
Oh, and here's more CNN coverage complaining about how Trump reacted seconds after someone tried to kill him.
I do want to say there was one thing that when I watched the tape, I found odd because of all of the heated rhetoric. And that is that after he was hit, former President Trump got up and said, fight, fight, fight. I think what we're hearing from people is that's not the message that we want to be sending right now. We want to tamp it down.
Now, we all know that those comments were going to come at some point. Let's find a way to criticize or even blame Donald Trump when we analyze how he was almost murdered on stage. But those comments came even faster than expected, just hours after he was attacked and while he was still recovering in hospital. There is no question that this is such a scary time for America right now. The people I've been speaking to say that they are scared after what they have witnessed and also what the future holds. But after today, I suspect we are going to see a lot more support for Donald Trump. We're seeing this already. Billionaire Elon Musk posted on X today, "I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery." Despite all the hate in the world and even an assassination attempt, Donald Trump is not giving up.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. But yeah, I mean, when they want to say they're nonviolent and, he's like, I'm like, they roasted us, did they not? But that's true. It's true. Every word.
Yeah, and notice see, I don't so much blame the politicians for that because they're nasty politicians, but notice that every single one of them, it was either MSNBC, CNN, or NBC. That's what you're dealing with, and that's why I'm pointing the finger at them and saying, you've created this atmosphere. Because before COVID, I had friends. It didn't matter, okay? Like, we could feel any way about politics. We didn't care because we were friends. After COVID or during COVID, I lost a majority of friends over political opinions because they have been so inflamed by mainstream media.
Yeah, I did too. Well, I kind of did. I can. The people that I lost really weren't my friends, I guess. But
Good point.
but yeah, that was the exact same thing. It's like, you know what? I believe what I believe, and you can believe what you do. What you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what I know. And I still haven't changed my opinion. And I looked at it from a completely medical standpoint. I wasn't listening to the talking heads in Washington. I was going on what I already know about medicine from all these years, and the doctors and nurses who were saying what they had to say about it. So, that's how I made my decision. But yeah, I lost a lot of friends because, people just, I don't know. What is it, Prof? Do people just not think? I mean, are some people just so conditioned that they're going to believe whatever, somebody tells them, oh, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, hello?
I think that's what it is. And you're raised to believe. See, when I was a kid, they called it the news, I don't know if you remember that. When we were young, it was known as the news. So when I grew up, I thought the news was honest, trustworthy, accurate, fair, checked for, accuracy. And it's only when I became an adult and went through some difficulties in life that I started to realize that the news is none of those things, So then I started to learn about that. Oh, well, as a consumer of information, then I have to filter through this stuff. I can't just trust that it's the news. But I think a lot of people, they're in a fantasy world that, sure, just turn on CNN, they'll give you the news.
Yeah. But I think you're right, Prof. When we were kids, our parents, well, I don't know, sometimes my parents would be, oh, well, you can't believe everything. But for the most part, we did believe that the government was on our side. They were trying to protect us and they weren't going to lie to us. And then, then you grow up and you start looking and reading. And, I remember, I think it was around I already had trust issues with the government for many, many years. But in 2011, I lost my job. And so my kids were little, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a few months and I'm going to take a few months off. And during that few months, I started listening to YouTube. I was never a YouTube person. Like my kids watched it. I thought it was just a bunch of, silly stuff on there. And I found out, so I started researching, and I started watching YouTube, and I couldn't believe what some people were saying, especially when it came to things about our government. I was like, no, no. But then, of course, the internet, it was easy to find stuff, and I vetted a lot of what they said. And I think that was 2011 was my big down deep. Oh, holy crap. What are we in the middle of? And so now I don't watch mainstream news. I just don't. I did watch some of it yesterday because they were live streaming from Pennsylvania. But after the initial, that part was over, then I'm like, I'm done with you. Let me go find what's really happening. Kind of like you said earlier. Let's see. Somebody said something about oh, it was Melanie. Hello, Melanie. What about preachers saying Democrats are demons? I don't know what preachers are saying that. I don't listen to preachers either. I listen to my own in my small little town.
Well, I can answer that partially. It's that the same people pushing some sexual agendas on our children, it's pretty easy to align them with a portion of the Democratic following. And
okay.
And then that leads a lot of preachers who would be anti that to that sort of, that sort of rhetoric. But it does, all of these things are generalizations. But I know that I don't want my kids being propagandized with sexual information, whether in school or on television or in Disney or anything. It's like, leave my kids alone.
Yeah, I was even shocked, and my daughter just graduated from high school. My youngest one this year. Thank God that's over. But all this was going on when she was in middle school is when they started. And I'm in Alabama. This is the Bible Belt. And I really thought, and I'm not saying, like, look, that I'm not saying that people can't have opinions and, all that kind of stuff. Of course you can. But when it comes to school, the school system here has always been very strict on mainstream, beliefs. And I was shocked at what her school allowed and still allows for the students. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have to agree with something. I don't have to agree with the certain ways that you want to live. I don't have to hate you. I've got many of friends who live an alternative lifestyle. I love them the same. I do. But I myself don't practice that. I have no hatred towards the ones that do. But and this is what I told my daughter, my problem with this whole thing is your brain isn't developed yet. You are hormonal. You're confused. You're going through the worst time of your life, basically, puberty. And in these years, and I'm like, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that we need to be encouraging anything when it comes to that, especially in the school system. Like, look, you're going to change. You're going to change, and the internet's forever. And the stupid things that you post on social media today may haunt you even 20 years from now,
Oh, yeah. I'm completely embarrassed by some things from 20 years ago. But something I was thinking is how you and we're of the generation that we were able to see the internet come about. And so
Yes.
this is a social experiment that's unprecedented. It's like the freeing of
Mm-hmm.
information because the generations before us, there was not complete freedom of information. People
Right.
had to dive into old libraries and go underground and make phone calls. It was very difficult, but we have access to a lot of information to the extent that no other time in history people have. And so it's been an ongoing learning for us. And like, how do we, we come into not only pervasive propagandizing, but then pervasive access or open access to information that was prohibitive before. And that's everything from like the old libraries being scanned and put online so that you can go look at maps from the 1500s to like old books from the 1600s. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can look up demographics for every place in the United States and around the world. It's very difficult. It's very difficult how do you, for a whole society to suddenly come upon almost complete open information, but a large amount of information it's never had access to for 1,000 years. So I think
Yeah.
that we're all learning, as a project together, the social experiment, how do we deal with this communication and access to information like we've never had? And at the same time, it's allowing us to start to recognize this monstrosity we're facing with the mainstream media and all the institutions. And I think we're headed in a direction, and this is a part of it, where there's going to be a backlash against this because before it was churches. I mean, you remember back when Mexico was conquered and they burned all the Mayan books because they were of the devil. And so there's only a few Maya codices left that weren't burned. And so, like, the control over information has been millennia. And so this is it's unprecedented time in history, I think. And so
Yeah.
it's
It is.
just it's a lot to deal with.
It really is. I mean, I never imagined when the internet started, and I was pretty early on that bandwagon because I don't know. Yeah, I was I was really early on the internet, and the change, gosh, from then to now. And at first it was like, oh, this is amazing, this is like a whole library in your right there, instant information. And I thought, this is great. I didn't foresee, that it was going to go this direction. But I mean, Prof, my favorite meme of all time is the one that says, in my hand, I hold a device that gives me instant access to all the information, all the knowledge in the whole world. I use it to watch cat videos and argue with strangers. And I'm like, that about sums it up.
It's pretty much accurate.
Yeah. I'm like, there was never a truer thing written than that. But, it's crazy. I think that unfortunately this is going to go on and on and on. And they're talking about, I kind of cut it off early. Let me put I'm going to hold on. I'm going to put this down in the comment section in case you want to watch the whole video. There was a few minutes left. But basically, they were saying, oh, well, this has really, ramped up support for Trump and, whatever. I'm not looking at it politically. I'm looking at it as a, oh my God, what's going on? And I try not to be a conspiracy theorist. I try, Prof. I try. But then, some things are just like they slap you in the face and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with this information? The Secret Service is clearly not doing their job. So why is that? Why? And like you said at the very beginning, there's only two reasons. And here we are. So are we going to be looking at this for weeks and months and years? Probably. Probably.
Yeah, it's probably going to be swept under the rug, but kind of like my takeaway from the whole thing is that I think we're facing a sea change. I really do, because I think that they tried to make Trump like Satan on earth. Okay, that's what they've tried to do, because in my opinion, he's your first truly independent political candidate and president who poses an extreme threat to an agenda of people who have controlled the office for 200 years, 300 years. So that's my conspiracy theory, and I think that a lot of people are waking up. Like they tried to make him go away by doing all these things and turning the public against him. But what I'm starting to see is that people are starting to see what's happened, and I think that people seeing it makes people angry. And that's why I'm angry today, because I've already felt this way for quite some time, but seeing them literally try to take him out yesterday, it's angered me, because I think, like, look, I tried to bite my tongue and not come out here and scream like a maniac and Alex Jones at the mainstream media and the press. But I really at the precipice now where I'm like, no, I'm going to speak out against this mainstream media, because you can blame all kind of people and billionaires and George Soros and then the politicians like were featured in this clip. But really, when it comes down to the direct influence on people and the way that people have behaved and thought, I look at what people are fed every day, and they consume that mainstream media, and people have faith in it because like we were talking about, when we grew up, we looked at TV as legitimate. We looked at the news as legitimate, and they've turned around and used these news organizations as propagandizing tools. And I think that, you look at the amount of people who were typically not Trump's demographic, who are angry because they've been lied to, or they feel that they've been manipulated. And I think you're seeing a sea change. And I'm all about it, because it's like when you see people you would never think say that was, you even have hardcore Democrats who were on the internet and the TVs in the past several years screaming against Trump. They will all admit that when he stood up with blood running down his face and he said fight, 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 that was damn admirable. And that and it was it showed his mental capacity, that he was thinking about, I don't know how I'm hurt, I don't know how much I'm bleeding, but I know this. Before I leave this stage, I want to let everyone know that physically I'm okay, and that spiritually I want to tell them, if I'm about to die because I just got shot, I want to let them know this is my message on my way out. So I think like the mental political wherewithal that exhibit and the strength, people can't help but admire it.
Yeah, so. I did too. And I felt like he did that for the crowd and for the nation, for sure. Definitely. But also, I think that would, if I had just been, had been the victim of an assassination attempt, and I think I would do the same thing. I would be shocked. First initial shock, and then you're on the ground, and you're like, okay, I need my shoes. And then I think at that moment, I would get angry,
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? The double middle finger to the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Metalheads used to like to do in the 90s. You'd be like, F the man. Well, this is what it is. It's F the man. Like, you're trying to take me out. F you,
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't see myself voting for anybody else but Trump. But I still, because of my mind, the way it works. And like I said, I think he was a good president, especially compared to some of the other ones, the recent one. But you know, um, I was shocked, but there's like some things I'm curious about, and I want to pick your brain for a second. Okay, Trump, lots of money, lots of influence, lots of power in New York City. Okay, this man has a lot of clout, and I started wondering, like, what are the chances that he hasn't been infiltrated, or I'm sure he's been invited, but like you have to think too, could he have an Illuminati ties? I mean, I don't know. Like, he's so powerful even before the presidential thing. Like, do you ever wonder, is there something I'm not seeing? Because is he really, I'm not saying he's not really that good. I don't know. It's just my brain that says people are bad, and maybe that's just my fault.
Well, see, my brother's like that. One of my brothers is he's extreme like that too. He's like, it's all a game. He's all blah 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 blah. But I guess where I kind of like, I have been blessed in so many ways with knowing good people, and it just seems like anytime I'm interested in anything, people are put into my life who can inform me of things I'm interested in. So I just know some people who's been like, I don't know how to say it without really revealing identities, but I know people who have, been in vehicles with these people and sat at the dinner table with these people. And the one thing I know is that the feeling that's conveyed to me that what happens behind the scenes is it's even better than you would think that you see on camera. Like, you're basically dealing with people who say the same or even more kind and noble and Christian things behind the scenes than they say on camera. So I think that's pretty interesting, and that's coming from people that I know who, like I say, they've touched Donald Trump and and his family members, shaking hands and hugged and shared meals. So that's kind of encouraging. But like I always like to take the other side of the argument, like, and I do when I talk to one of my brothers, and he says, well, it's the aliens and they're really controlling things, and Trump's just one of the actors in he's all in on it. And I just think, well, hell, it proved that externally. Do you really think you would see the consternation and the contention with this guy if he wasn't a threat? Like, I think he's a genuine threat to the establishment. Now, looking back, because you and I, like I said, we are a little on the older side of the kids on YouTube. And, when I was coming up, I adored Home Alone and Ghostbusters and all of those really cute movies that were sort of not vulgar. And and I just remember, like, you think back to Home Alone, and Trump has a cameo, and Trump was like when I thought back to Trump, think back to those days, I looked at Trump as like a handsome guy wearing a suit who was a millionaire. I don't even think I knew what a billionaire was then, but I kind of looked at him as how he was portrayed in the Home Alone movie. Like, oh yeah, it's like a New Yorker, a tycoon, runs hotels, buys properties, kind of a good-looking supermodel wife. I always placed him in a category of just like a winner in life in that way. And I only knew that he was a despicable piece of crap when all of this, when he ran for office against Hillary Clinton and all the politics came into play. All of a sudden, he became like Satan. And so I've seen both perspectives. And I don't know, when I look at it from every angle, I kind of distill it down to the bottom line is, hey, they want to destroy this guy at all costs. And by they, I mean the mainstream media, the establishment politicians on both sides, like the dirty Republicans, the dirty Democrats, everyone who's been entrenched in Washington their whole lives, ever since the 70s, you know, everyone sees him as a threat. And it makes me well, damn, he must be a threat. And if he's a threat to the people who tried to kill Reagan, to kill Kennedy, to destroy the country, to basically, I don't know, to propagandize us. I mean, I think that, like, hey, that's the kind of threat I want around, because even if he doesn't ever beat him, which I think he's opening the eyes of the world to, like, what's the enormity or the pervasiveness of, you know, how this power thing has always worked in America. I think that even if he doesn't beat them, he's showing what exists. You know, it's something that I've tried to do with some of the problems I've encountered online is I've just tried to kind of show what's there, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it meant looking bad for me. Like, I knew that what I was doing, since I've been a YouTube creator, I knew that some of it's not going to look the best, but I thought, well, hey, I don't really care how it looks at first, because I think if I'm able to show what's happening, then maybe at the end, people will see it for what it is, which will make it better. So
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying. I am off camera. I have very distinct opinions. On camera, I'm not. It's not that I'm not telling the truth. It's just, you know, there are things that I don't want to follow me, you know, into, because like I said, the internet's forever. So we have a private conversation, which, you know, Prof, you and I have been on the phone for hours and hours. And 100% I told you what I think about different things. But, you know, that's just me personally, because I don't know where I'm going in the future, and I'm like, I try to be very careful about what I say. But most of my people can read between the lines. They know what I mean. Yeah, Sherry Faye. That's where I'm at, because I am broad-minded, even though I can't find fault with things that Trump has done on a political level, you know, as far as being president. You know, I don't agree with everything, but pretty much. And I'm like, okay, this is a really good guy. He's fighting the man. Or is he there to usher in the New World Order, or is he for real? Yeah, it's one or the other. Carol says Trump is a Jesuit. Now, I've never heard that. But Jesuits are in a secret war with the Freemasons. Well, I can tell you this. I am not a fan of Freemasons, and y'all all know that. Again, to any Freemasons, I'm not saying everyone is terrible, but the organization itself is satanic. But it's my opinion. Maybe I gotta put hold on. Here, let me put allegedly down at the bottom. But yeah, so let me go back through some of your comments. I know you've been saying a lot. I mean, I question, but that's just my personality, Prof, is I question everything. Mm-hmm. If somebody says this is black, I'm going to be like, is it? Is it really black? I need to see.
Well,
somebody vet that for me. Is it black?
Tells me what to think. When they say you have to think this, you cannot say that. That's when I get mad, and that's when I really look. You know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be told what not to think, say, or do.
Yeah, me either. Because there's always a reason. Yeah, please don't. Well, people in my real life that know me, they figure it out eventually how to get me to do something, and it's not by telling me you have to. That's when I'm going to rebel. There is a way you can get me to do just about anything, but it's not that. JD says, this generation really scares me, where God, respect, and discipline is missing. I 100% agree. I mean, you know, I'm not saying all the old ways were the best. but we don't have, like, there's nothing for our kids to hold on to. I mean, I know when my kids were small, this was the weirdest thing, and I think this is just human nature. When my boys were little, they would get to a point, they're 18 months apart, and they would fight about everything all day. All day. And I would, I would break them up, put this one in a corner, that, like, by the end of the day, and I would tell them all day, if you don't stop, I am going to get a hickory and I'm going to tear your bottom up, or whatever. And they just would not. And they would get increasingly worse and more agitated and more horrible until at the end of the day, I'd be like, okay, come here. I've had it with you. But after that, after, they would get over the incident, they would be the sweetest, not because they had to. Like, they were happy. They would laugh. They would play together. They would have the best time. It was because I think that it's the follow through. Okay, this is the boundary. You're going to respect me, or you're going to get disciplined. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they were happy. And I'm like, why does it have to come to this? Why, But they were something else. My boys were like Wolverines. They're feral. They were feral back then. But I think it's human nature, because they even the psychologists say, kids need that. They need discipline. They need boundaries, because it makes them feel safe. And in the world that we have, we don't have any of that, so nobody does feel safe.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's sort of the epidemic of academia and the atheist perspective. It's, I think that, I don't know, it's a disease, but it's part of what's infecting our society, because the brain can't solve everything, and there's a heart-brain balance of something. I think that when you're leaning on the brain, you're neglecting the heart, and I know that's why I like the Christian messages.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing about an incident like this is traumatic, and in a traumatic moment, you go back to the heart and you say, what's really important? Oh, my people in my life, love, my kids, my parents, the things like people, love. And we seem to forget that. And some people need more reminding than others.
Yeah. I know for me too, and I have to say, I never really thought about it that way for years, but in a way, Christianity kind of does give you, I mean, it does set boundaries. It as do a lot of religions, okay? That's not the only one, but that's the one I practice. And as bad as, hell, sounds, it keeps you, it has, you have boundaries, and then you have security. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's just like growing up, where say as a kid, you rely on the adults around you to establish those, but at some point you have to grow up and establish your own.
Mm-hmm.
Maturing, growing up, and it's the same with. For me, with Christianity, it's as a child, you're looking at the rules in that way to give a context, but eventually, in my worldview, you come to a part where you have to truly be saved, so that you draw your own lines, that you don't want to hurt others, that you don't want to cause pain in others' hearts, that you want to do what's right just for the sake of doing what's right, and you want God to speak to you for your own benefit and those around you. That's growing up into an understanding that, hey, I think it's best for me to be with God, and that's how I've grown into it. But some people, they reject that. They don't want to, or they want to call it other things. But for me, for me, it's like, because it was since I was born, it's God and Jesus and Christianity. But for others,
Yeah.
other crap. But for me,
Yeah.
there's the only way for me is Jesus.
Yeah. Me too. And I mean, I try to, I've looked at, I mean, I think everybody has. If you have a brain, you've looked at every religion at some point or other, or question. That's okay. But yeah, that's me too. I mean, and that's my unapologetic. I've said that a bunch of times. I'm a Christian and I'm unapologetic about it. However, I'm not the kind of Christian that is going to hate you and hold up ugly signs and, like, like that's not Jesus either. I don't know what that is. That's horrible. But I mean, when you take a values, let's just take the basis, because I got in a discussion with my daughter the other day, and she was talking about Project 2025, which apparently has some really bad things in it. Again, I'm not political. I try not to be. But she was telling me some stuff, and one of her complaints is I mean, she goes to church, but she said, I don't think the 10 Commandments should be posted because that's, separation of church and state. And I'm like, well, actually, if you go back to the days when all that really it really doesn't mean what we take it to mean. That's not.
Well,
It's been very misconstrued.
State has no bearing on. Oh, right, exactly. It wasn't about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll put it this way, because there's a viral video going on now with sort of an enraged kind of ghetto mama going into a school and admonishing the teacher, because right there in history class there's a rainbow flag hanging on the wall, and she's like, I don't send my son here for that. I send my son here for history. You know, I guess that's what I mean. It's like, why is it okay that there's a rainbow flag on the wall, but it's not okay that there's 10 commandments that say do not kill, honor your mother and father, and rules that actually help no matter what? So,
well, yes, that was my argument to her. I said there's two reasons. One is because it is a standard of the first one is it's the standard by which all of our laws are based, our legal system. Not that anybody is in the government is adhering to any of those, but that is, that's where our laws come from. So it is not just a religious document, it is a legal basis, And I told her, I said, some people really don't have any guidance at home because their parents, at least in my area, are out doing substances, and, they're not getting anything. They're, passed around to family members or, wards of the state or whatever, and they're not getting that basic information. Like, they don't even know. Oh, really? Somebody said you're not supposed to, kill, you're not supposed to steal, you're not supposed, I said it's a good moral compass. People can read it and say, oh, okay, this is what we shouldn't do.
I think it's just fair to call it what it is. It's a satanic agenda that's been perpetrated to have us even discussing things like this, to say, oh, well, you shouldn't have this in school, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't teach the kids this, shouldn't teach it. It's all an agenda that's been set into motion, but they use the academia as the venue through which to accomplish all of this. And it's sad because I said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, and one nation under God, and I looked at my money that said, "In God We Trust," and I went to church on Sundays in which it said that our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I mean, none of that made me a terrible person or a killer or an abuser of people. Like, all of that made me better and more disciplined. So
yeah, I mean, me too. Melanie is saying, because we're talking about the rainbow flag because there are homosexuals in schools who are targeted by bullies.
Oh, that's a false argument. No,
I
sorry.
mean, bullying shouldn't, in my opinion, bullying shouldn't be for whatever reason. Okay, whatever reason. Whether somebody is because they're, homosexuals, really. I mean, I wasn't, like I said earlier in this, live. I was bullied terribly in high school. That wasn't the reason. Actually, I don't even really know the reason, but because I carried a Bible to school and I would read it during, off times, like, when you get done with a test or, whatever. I would sit there and I would sometimes read it, in class. But, I was targeted for that because they thought I was weird because I was in high school and I brought a Bible. That was half of them. The other half of the school claimed that I was a witch. Why? I don't know. I've never practiced witchcraft, so I'm like, go figure, whatever, for whatever reasons. But I mean, bullying is, I just don't, I don't think that anything about sexuality should be discussed in school.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a false argument because it's a responsibility of the administration to handle any sort of bullying and any problems like that. There's already methods in place in order to do so. Posting, Black Lives Matter, rainbow flags, Antifa flags, any sort of political ideology. There's no place. That's supporting people's beliefs in that way. That's not going to remedy the problem. Like the administration has counselors at their disposal. The teachers meet every week. There's teams. There's special education and behavior protocols. Trust me, I working in the education system. There's so many things in place. Now, when people fall between the cracks, then the administrators should be held responsible, and there's ways to remedy that. But putting a flag on the wall is not the way to remedy it. That's promoting an agenda. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not for promoting any agendas. I mean, I'm for studying history and social problems that we've had in the past. And I'm sure at some point all this will come up, as these kids, grow up and their kids are in school. They're going to talk about what Antifa is and their social studies classes or whatever. That's fine. But I don't think we should be promoting anything but education in school, really.
Well,
honestly.
when I was in school, there was Constitution posted up in the history classroom, and you've seen in the past 8 years, they've tried to make the Constitution or people who mention it or hold it or own it or post it, they try to make you some sort of domestic terrorist for even reading the Constitution. And that's what I'm saying. It's like school's a place for things, and sexuality is not one of them. And now there's always been sex education. You and I went through sex education,
Mm-hmm.
and it was basically like a health class, like how to not get an STD, basically.
Yeah, I agree, Shay, with what you said. You should not be rushed to have an opinion about your sexuality at all. These things should come in their own time. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, I think you shouldn't be. And I see what you're saying, Melanie. Like, not all students are Christian, for sure. They're not. I would go as far to say that 80 to 90% of Christians aren't Christian either. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what they are. It's not Christian.
We're a Christian nation. I mean, it's like if you go to Islamic countries, it's an Islamic culture. If you come to the Western civilization, from the tip of Argentina to the tip of Alaska, this is a Christian area historically. geologically. You go to Russia, it's a Christian nation, and you go to Africa, you have various things. You go to Haiti, there's like every place has its cultural history, and ours is a Christian cultural history. I have no problem with it, and it's only benefited my worldview. I mean, does that mean that I never veered? No, because like you, Silky, I mean, you get interested in things once you get of age, and you want to explore all these things. You want to learn about Hinduism, and you want to learn about all the various perspectives, atheism, shamanism, and all the things. But I know that when I come full circle, I come back to, hey, I ain't got no problem with Jesus or praying or God or acknowledging that there is a God, because if it's my fantasy world, let me live in it, because without that, what hope do I have?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm thinking of it because Melanie's saying, and I know not everybody's Christian, but when I was in school, now I don't know what they do now. I assume they do the same thing, but I remember it might have been high school. It was either middle school or high school, that part of our social, our world history or social history, whatever, we had a period of time that we studied all world religions, and they said, the basis we were tested on it. I had to know what Hinduism was, and Islam, and all of them, all the major ones. So that's like, it's not like, we were saying, oh, and never was I taught in school. I was never taught, oh, you shouldn't be a Hindu, or you shouldn't be
Same here.
It's like whatever. It's just, this is what they believe. This is where the majority of them are, and this is their belief system. So, I agree, Prof. This nation was built on Christianity. I understand why, there's an argument that if you allow religion in schools, you have to allow all of them, which I understand. If you're going to be fair, I might not like it, but if you're going to be fair, yes. And that means that people can, have satanic meetings on the school grounds. So, I mean, it's like, and I wonder why the world has become so different, but I understand that in the effort to be fair, to have freedom of religion, it does mean all religions. So, I don't want my kids to, be in school with, with some religions, but that's me. I don't know what to say about that, except, I am a Christian, and I would be if I lived in India also. So, might not be for very long, but before, or in the Middle East, but I would still be a Christian anywhere. I don't know. I just think there needs to be a lot of, if you're going to be strict and you don't want anything, then again, you're going to hang the rainbow flag, and you're going to ask people, like somebody said in the comments, at 5 years old in kindergarten, which gender do they most identify with? You don't know at 5.
You don't know shit.
No. And you don't even
not fall down.
Yeah. And you don't know even when you're in middle school, and by high school, sometimes it depends. By the older years, maybe, but when you're starting, you're like, what, 13, 14? When you're starting high school, you don't know anything. It's like, do you believe that people have so much intelligence and their brain is so good? Well, why don't we just let them make the laws then? Why don't we kick everybody out of Congress and put a bunch of, juveniles in there? Why? because you have to be 35 at least to be president, because they think, okay, you got to at least have some kind of, you know, you need to be mature. That's the reason. You're just not. Even in your 20s, I mean, made a bunch of boneheaded decisions in my 20s.
Oh yeah, hormones are just off the charts. It's a roller coaster of hormones in the 20s.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
mean,
we're all arguing about religion. I don't like that's. It's not. I mean, no one's ever going to agree with what they don't want. But I say it my way: is Jesus works for me. That's my road. It works for me. It's my reality. So I'm good with me.
yeah.
I'm not trying to push it onto anyone else. But if you ask, I'll tell you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Sometimes if you don't ask, I'll tell you. But I'm going to tell you my opinion. You know, I try to understand, okay, here is the one thing, though, Prof, that I think that we as Christians overlook a lot, is that we expect the whole world to live by our standards. And in my opinion, that is the best way to live. In my experience, that's the best way to live. But the Bible is, the laws of the Bible are for believers. Okay? So when you have all these Christians out here with these ugly, horrible signs, you know, against, you know, the homosexuals or whatever, and they're saying these horrible things, I'm like, okay, now, most of them are not identifying, the majority of them are not identifying as Christian. So now you're putting your beliefs on them, and you're making them adhere to rules that they do not believe. You are not going to win them to Jesus
well,
by doing that.
They forget about who Jesus hung out with. I mean, Jesus for
Exactly.
life today, you know, you could find him with the strippers and the meth heads and the homeless dudes and also, you know,
Yes.
professionals. Like, it's not, Jesus wasn't surrounded by like the old dudes in the mega churches who were like the holy rollers in the mega churches and
Exactly.
biggest donors to the weekly tithe and offering. I mean,
Right.
that's the problem I find with, you know, Christianity and the churches. There's a whole lot of rot that's festering, and it's the holier than thou. You know, I mean, if I want to know about Jesus, I go and I read the contemporaries of Jesus. You know, I read the Pontius Pilate writings, the letters from Pontius Pilate and Herodotus and Justinian. I read all the most ancient writers and the contemporaries of Jesus and try to figure out, like, what did they say about him at the time? You know, he was a drifter who hung out with.
Oh, they called him a drunkard.
Like, people were awestruck in his presence, and that's just he had a very charismatic impression upon people, and
Yeah.
he was killed. He was killed because people didn't like what he was doing, like basically the holy rollers. So that's why he ended up dead. But
Yeah, it was the religious people that killed him. It was the religious
Yeah,
people.
they were like,
It wasn't the sinners. It wasn't the drunkards.
out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why I have no problem. Like, I never try to put my shit onto others. I say, look, my sexuality, I happen to be straight. Hey, I'm not going to say that you have to be, and I happen to be Christian. I'm not going to say that you have to be. I'm just saying that obviously I'm going to do what works best for me at this point in time, and it could change in 10 years, but I don't see it. But, you know, pretty much people do what works for them as a general rule. So I have a problem with it. You know, I don't like a lot of the holy roller, big, you know, big time Christians. They give all the wrong impressions. But
Yes, I've done scathing videos on them, and I'm sure I will continue. Like I said, I'm not happy with my conversation with God today. I mean, you know, But but you brought up a point that I have been trying to tell people for years and explain, because yeah, Jesus hung out with the prostitutes, with the whatever kind of sinners. You know, and that day tax collectors were horrible. They were like the worst people on the earth. You know, and the substance abusers and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's who he hung out with. But to the point that people called him one. They accused him of doing that because, like, these are your friends. But what people don't understand is it's not just that Jesus hung out with them. You can't, okay, picture this. Some very religious, you know, person, obnoxious person, all right, goes into a bar or whatever and sits down, and how many friends are you going to make? Like, you might go in there, you might hang out there, but you're not going to really, you're not going to be friends with them because they don't like you. Why don't they like you? Because, you know, you're a religious nut and you are very judgmental and all this kind of stuff. The sinners hung out with Jesus because they liked him. Because they liked him. Otherwise, you don't hang out with people you don't like. You get up and leave. They liked him. And I've said for years, if sinners don't like you, then you're doing Christianity wrong.
Right. Well, exactly. Exactly.
And
it's like you're screaming at people all day. No one's going to hear a single word you're saying, you know?
Exactly. Right. I'm like, you know, when you walk into a place without judgment and you take people as they are, you can look, people see a difference in you when it's real, Prof. I mean, when it's real, it oozes out of you. You don't even have to say. Like, I've been in situations where I'm with a bunch of people. I never said a word about religion, Christianity, nothing. I'm just there hanging with people, and then somebody will just look at me and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be offensive to you." And I'm like, you know, like, what do you mean? Well, you're like, you're a Christian, or you're, you know, oh, how did you know that? I can just tell. Well, that's a huge compliment to me, because I didn't say a word. You know, I'm just conversating with everybody. But, you know, that's the difference, is you have to be comfortable to be around. And if you're not, I would say, I would really check your relationship, because are you a Christian or are you religious?
Well,
because there is a big difference.
Mm-hmm. That's why a big part of my philosophy is self-love and self-care, because, for instance, you'll notice there's times when I don't come onto YouTube for a week or 5 days or 7 or 10, but there's a reason, because I try to do everything in a way where I'm at my best. So, like, if I don't feel like coming on, I won't come on. If I don't feel like going shopping, I won't go shopping. If I don't feel like going do the yard work, I won't go do it, because I feel like for me to be my best, I have to actually want to be doing what I'm doing, you know? So, like, I try to be really careful, is like, do I feel like doing this right now? Because when I want to bring 100% when I do. So, like, if I have a show planned and I'm like, I'd rather, you know, cook dinner and hang out with the baby tonight. So then I just say, forget it, you know. But
yeah,
at the same time, like last night, I just felt like I wanted to do a little show, so I just popped on because I felt like it. And I think if more people did that, but did it with integrity and honesty, you can't just say, I feel like sitting on the couch every single day smoking weed and eating ding dongs. But, you know, you put your goals in front of you and your ideals, and then just say, there's no good going to come from stressing yourself, from being too hard on yourself, or from being lazy. You know, try to walk a middle path of, like, let's do, you know, have those ideals and do what's right and head in the right direction, but be gentle on yourself and love yourself so that you're at your best, so you can give your best to those you're encountering. And
yeah,
it's hard to do, but it's a daily task. You know, it's every day up, every day getting up, dusting myself off and saying, today, let me try again to do that, do in a better way.
Yeah. Well, that's what the last live that I did with Laura, we were actually talking about a case, but I had made that announcement to my channel. And I know people think like you're abandoning us. I'm not. I'm revamping because I got to that point where I was covering some stories and, I love true crime. I do. That's just, a hobby, a passion, whatever, advocacy. But I, at some point, it was never a weight on me. No matter how bad the case was that I talked about, it didn't ever weigh on me until the last few months. And it became such a weight that I felt like, when you're doing the right thing, no matter how dangerous it is, no matter, it inspires you. Like there's a spark, you know what I'm talking about, Prof, that it drives you to keep going, and that drive was not there. And I was being weighed down by a lot of the different crimes I was covering on the churches because it was depressing to me. Like, what's wrong with you people? And but I felt like, you know what, after the weight just wouldn't go away, I started thinking it's because I'm not exactly doing the right thing. It's like, this is what I was supposed to do in this season, true crime, whatever. And now I finally realized, because I'm a little thick-headed sometimes, like, I don't think that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. I'm sure I will talk about crimes from time to time, like tonight, this whole Trump thing. But it's like, inside there is something else. So, I was at church this morning and I almost missed because my daughter's dress broke and it was a fiasco getting out of the house. And I'm like, look, we don't have to go. She didn't want to go late. I'm like, it's not going to be that long. But if you don't want to go, we won't go. But we went anyway. And I got there and I'm like, oh my God, God just, when you know that message is for you. And I know this message has been planned for weeks, like it's a whole series. It's been planned for weeks or months. And it actually lined up exactly with the whole situation with Trump yesterday. I'm like, holy crap, how did that happen? And then the last thing that he said is let the things that really bother you really bother you. And I was like, I didn't want to hear that. Because, it's easier for me to talk about true crime and these cases and, dig into this and that than it is, even though that bothers me, it's not what really bothers me. And I'm like, oh, God, why did you have to get up in my pancakes this morning? There are things that I don't want to talk about that really bother me. It's what's really bothering me. And so, it's kind of like, I don't want to, but at the same time, I know, you just know, well, you're not going to be blessed doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing. So there you go. And something that you said sparked that, and I can't remember what it was now. So sorry, that was.
Well, I just think in this day and age, we don't realize how much rest we need as humans. And I think that sort of my message is like, you got to give yourself that, because if you're not your best, when my other son was a little child, people would say, you have to take care of yourself first to take care of your kid, or you have to tie your shoes first before you can. And then,
True.
And that's what I'm getting at is you have to be able to rest and recharge and fill yourself to be at your best, so you can even know how to take your first step forward. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's a daily thing I'm struggling with or addressing is like, okay, have I, say like the night before, did I not do X because that was going to be too much and exhaust me? So, so this morning, am I going, what are my intentions and what am I willing to not do today so that I'm not stressing myself? Because I know myself, the more anxious and stressed and overworked and frantic I am, the less effective and the worse I do. So I try to show, that's what I was getting at about the self-care or whatever, is that by letting myself rest and then deciding, okay, I'll do this next, then I'm able to at least do better than I might have done otherwise. So that's, I think that's what you're saying. And that's kind of what I'm saying to people is like, everything doesn't have to be go, 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 push, 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 push. Even though the information comes at us at a high speed and the days of the week and the paychecks and the work hours, everything moves so fast in our world, but we're only human. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Melanie Lynn says, what is really bothering you? There's a lot, but I would say the biggest thing that bothers me is the state of the church. The state of the church bothers me the most. And that encompasses a whole lot of stuff. And talking about that and presenting it in a way where I do not lose my temper. As you know, when I've covered the Micah Miller case, I get very heated about some things and the Robert Morris thing and all that. I don't feel like people even, and I'm not talking about the world, I'm talking about Christians. I don't even think that Christians know how to be Christians anymore. That's what's bothering me. And I'm like, I don't know where the breakdown is. And I understand why people are leaving the church. I know why they're leaving the church. Same reason I did. But yeah, that's what's bothering me.
Has Christianity become, or has the church become a commodity to consume?
Yes.
Product.
Yes.
Not a reality.
Yeah. 100%. And I think it's like the people, you have different types of people. But one thing that has really bothered me in the last couple of months is a lot of people are in church. Well, there's different reasons that they go, but a lot of them are there because they don't want to go to hell. I'm like, you know what? That is the very last thing on my mind. It is the very last reason that I'm a Christian. Like, I don't even think about hell.
No, me either.
I mean, I don't. I'm like, well, I know that's what usually drives people. But the Bible says it's the goodness of God that leads to repentance, not the scaring somebody, you know. And it's like, we're not promoting goodness. We're promoting judgment and hellfire and damnation. And, people are Christians because they don't want to go to hell, but they don't know how to be Christians. It's like, that's the very best life that you could possibly have. It's not easy, but it's the best life. And I'm like, I don't even think about hell. So the people that are really gung-ho, the churches and even the one that I attend, and I'm not going to name the denomination, but they're the denomination that I am currently attending is one that is the best at getting people saved. Like, that's really all they preach. Well, not my church, but that denomination as a whole. They're really the ones that go out and try to get people converted. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But after that, where do you go? Like, that's just step one. But they don't seem to really get past step one too much. And that leaves people like, okay, well, I'm saved, I'm born again. Now, what do I do? You know, yeah. Like, there's so much more to it. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot, and I'm considering how to proceed. Hey, Professor Pug, how you doing? Good to see ya.
Hey, Professor Pug.
So that does, yeah. Let's see. I just want to cry when you go to church and you hear maybe one Bible passage and more life stories about the pastor's life. Yeah. I mean, you know, stories are good sometimes, but I don't know. It's just like, I don't know.
Ham
I don't know
says,
how to explain
at
it.
the feet of Jesus. That's pretty much where I got my mind right. So I'm down with a Ham statement.
With Pam's statement? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But, you know, the thing of it is it's like, you know, people get upset because, you know, there's like, you know, Christianity says you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. It's like I said not too long ago. You know, also when you tell your child, you know, not to touch the hot stove, it's not because you're trying to be mean. And if y'all have ever had a kid, you know, they're at some point or another, they're going to want to put their hand on that eye or in that flame or whatever. Like, I don't know why kids do that, but they do. Every stinking one of them. And you tell them no, and you might, you know, pop their hand. You might, you know, put them in another room, whatever. But they are going to try and try. You're not mean. You're not mean just because you're saying, do not touch the stove. You know, because you know what's going to happen. And that's the thing. The rules are not because God hates us. It's because he loves us. You know, the things that he says you should not do this and you should do that. It's like, because you're going to be much happier not touching that stove, buddy. You know, yeah. Yeah, you're right, Carol. Hold on, my mouse is not. I got a new mouse, and now it decides. Oh, that's why. This says the Holy Spirit will be withdrawn in the end times because of infiltration. How many of y'all think? I mean, I know we all know we're in the end times. How far? Just question. How far in do you think we are into the Book of Revelation? Do you have a thought on that, Prof?
Ooh. I got options A and B, like just like our service failure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know. Sometimes I look at it, and you look at some of the things that Jesus said about, you know, how do we know? And it's like, you know, well, there'll be wars and rumors of wars and, you know, earthquakes and all these things in different places. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's been going on for a long time. So
that's what I was going to say. I believe history is cyclical. And so you got to ask yourself, has it already happened or is it to come? I don't know. If it's come, will it come again? I have different beliefs than your standard megachurch post-trib rapturist or whatever you want to call it. I think there's too many mysteries to know the Bible like people think they know it, but
yeah.
I think we're in times now. You know, I know that what I can speak of now is these are unprecedented times, and I think like when you woke up yesterday, did you think that you would see what happened yesterday transpire? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's almost like to be adaptive to God's will and what's unfolding with the world. You have to be very adaptable. Like you have to be so alert that you can just take in this novel information and experiences in the moment and just go with it and readjust and take it in and keep moving forward. And I think that that's the times that we're in, that just like I did not think yesterday I would wake up and witness what we witnessed. I woke up that way today, and I think about tomorrow and think, who knows what we may witness tomorrow or experience, but there's a way to be prepared for it, and that's to take responsibility for your part in creation and to say, hey, I have a responsibility too, and I'll walk hand in hand with the Most High all the way to the end, and I'll do it for my kids and for my own soul. So
yeah, same. I just, I wonder too, because until the plagues, the things that are completely unprecedented, I don't know if we'll really know. I mean, there are signs. I actually was, and I didn't have time to watch all of it, Prof, but there's a documentary on YouTube that I was watching in it today, and it said something about the east gates of Jerusalem that have been sealed since I don't know, long time, 1600, something like that. Now they're unsealed, and they were only supposed to be unsealed when somebody appeared on the scene who they thought was Jesus come back. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
I don't know anything about it.
Ago that all of this is by design, in my opinion. They're instigating the rapid unfolding of prophecies. But the way I expect to see major earthquakes all around and flooding and fires. I expect to see the grid go down. I expect for the food system to fail, the economic crash that's coming. I expect all of that. And so I guess if to whoever's question that was, let's see. Whose question was that? How far into it?
Oh, that was my question.
Oh, it wasn't in the chat. Yeah, I think that I think no matter what the theories are about how far into whatever, I think like what I'm anticipating and preparing my mind for, and my my vibration is to say, hey, if massive earthquakes hit, I expect them. If all of these disasters hit, I expect them. The grid goes down, I'm expecting it. The financial system collapse, I'm expecting it. So what does that mean? Well, I try to have some food put aside. I try to have some money put aside, some precious metals put aside, some water set aside, and I try to have my mind more than anything, my heart and my mind together. Where it's like I'm just like I didn't expect. I mean, I sort of had this. Honestly, for a couple years now, I've had this sinking feeling that they would try to shoot Trump. I just knew it, that they were going to try to shoot him, and but I didn't expect yesterday to wake up to it, or to wake up to a day in which I would witness it. And so that's what I'm saying, that I'm prepared for anything, because I'm just expecting, the earthquakes will probably hit and all the other things, and nothing we can really do to stop it, but we can just continue to pray and to have our own mental fortitude,
Yeah, I mean, I know too. At anytime the grid, the internet, whatever, could go down. I don't know. We're just gonna have to. When that happens, we just have to remember who our friends were and pray, for them wherever they are, because there's so many people across the internet, across the whole world, that if I couldn't talk to you all and see you and know what was going on, it would be terrible. I'd be wondering, I wonder how, Carol is. I wonder how Hiawatha is. Wonder what Prof is doing out there. Carol had asked about, has anybody ever had encounters of the third kind with Jesus? And then she says Revelation 6, that's where the seals are opened. I know everybody's questioning, and so am I. Are you meaning, Carol, like prophetic, like visions, that type of stuff? I mean, I have, many times. I know. Now people are gonna say, I told you I'm gonna pull out the tinfoil hat, but no, I have many times. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. So put it in the
She's got me
chat.
with that one.
What?
She's got me confused with that one too.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I need to know what you're talking about. Um, I mean, yeah, some people are skeptical of that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of
fine.
like, it's kind of like my other channel, which is my play channel where I tell ghost stories. Actually, strangely enough, I'm running across a lot of people who kind of need help, and I try to do, like, when people email me and stuff and they've got a problem, I'm like, I never expected, but there you go. There you go. There's God at work. I never expected, when I was just reading people's true ghost stories that they sent in, that it would be anything but entertainment. And for the most part, that's what it seems like. But people don't, Prof, when people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, because all they see is what you put out, and they don't know the conversations that you have with people on the down low. And it's like, wow, God really can work through anything, absolutely anything, even true crime. And some of y'all in this chat have had conversations with me about spiritual things. How we got there from true crime, I don't know, but we got there. So
Well, I mean, it's like, if the creator of the universe can do that, then he can do anything. And I know it's difficult to talk about God, and I don't like talking about it much, but I know this, and I've said it before, I don't think people understand. Like, the reason I entered the case we do not want to speak about,
that which shall not be mentioned.
which should not be named, and the reason that I came onto YouTube, I mean, do you think that I do anything lightly? It's like, I felt that God put people in my direction and showed me things, and had people reach out to me, and was at work, which encouraged me. And this was over a number of years, eventually to the tipping point where I said, oh, I guess I have a slight responsibility now. So that's what I've been doing. And because that's the way I live, like based on Carol's question, maybe I'll say this, Carol, I don't know what you meant, but I'll say this because I don't like talking about it much, but I had so I have an illness that's life-threatening. And
Okay.
and I had an experience in which my heart stopped, and I had a near-death experience. Okay, and the most odd thing about that, and this is why I said, in response to Pam Frenchman, who said that Pam said at Jesus's feet somewhere.
Yeah.
I was looking for it. I can't find it, but I can never find anything in chat. I don't know if you ever watch my show, but I can never find chats that I want to find. But no, it's the reason that I said that Jesus, I'm good with Jesus, is because of the simple fact that happened that turned me around. Oh yeah. Which is that when I died, I basically went straight to the feet of Jesus, and I was so elated because I thought that I was going with him at that point, and it's just unfortunately or fortunately, after basking in his presence for a while with such joy, that I was so happy that I was going with him, he basically he kind of said no. And I told someone the other day that the most heartbreaking heartbreak I've ever had, the worst feeling I ever recall having felt, is that moment that he told me, no, it's worse than the death of my brother or my the others that I've lost in my life who were heartbreaking. When he told me I couldn't go with him, I was just really heartbroken and grief stricken. And then I came back to the world and came back to life, and my heart started again, and that was all I ever needed, because I'd been raised in church and been prayed for over and prayed for, and I thought I was saved and all of this stuff, but until that moment, that experience, it was all sort of hypothetical and belief based. But once that moment happened, and I realized that in reality, when I die, I'm going directly to Jesus's feet. That's life changing. And so since then, I have had a whole different life, because I believe that I'm going to experience the same thing. But that time, I will probably go ahead and not ever come back. So.
Yeah, I know. I've thought about that. As a matter of fact, I was just watching a video sometime in the last couple of days that was talking about near-death experiences and, coming back. And I was like, I think God knows better than to let me come, part of the way, because I just I wouldn't come back. I don't think I could. I don't know. I think about my kids, and that would, if there was anything that would bring me back, it would be that. But yeah, I didn't know you had had a near death experience. That is very interesting. And so did wait, it's down here. Pam says she's had 3.
I'll tell you about it offline, and I mean, I might one day talk about it on the internet. It's just, you can't even call, I can't call it an experience. It was a reality. It's like
Right.
I died. I ended up at the feet of Jesus, and he said no. Suddenly, I came back, and I wasn't happy about it, But then once I shook it off, I was definitely happy, because at the time I had a kid. I had a young kid, and
yeah, when you've got young kids, that's hard.
But I'm telling you, Silky, there was no thought of that in my mind whatsoever, because the minute I ended up at Jesus' feet, the only thought in my mind was, I knew who it was, and I just wanted to go with him. I wasn't thinking about anything worldly. And then when I dropped back down into my body and I snapped back out of it, and my heart started, it felt so heavy. And then I started to remember, and it's just I went on into praying in tongues for probably 5 hours until the sun rose. And when the sun rose, I tell you what I did. I'll say this for the people, is that I immediately started making it right with everyone in my life. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you,
I started fixing problems I had created.
If you ever want to talk about it, even if you wanted to do it as a recording and not alive, if you ever feel like doing it, let me know. I would love to hear that story. I know it's kind of like I've been toying with it. I'm trying to think. No, I haven't had a near death experience. I have been healed many times of things that were supposed to kill me. Had very supernatural experiences with divine protection that have no explanation except God. I've been spared many, many times. But that's not even like I have been part of. Now, I'm not saying this as a slight to anybody who has, but I've never had a substance abuse problem. But yet for the last 12, 13 years I've worked in Celebrate Recovery, but I'm in the band. Not that, but anybody who works CR has to give their testimony. And my testimony is very rough. It is the kind they only ask me to tell. Like, we usually have to do it once a year, at least once a year. But when I tell mine, it's like they want to wait 3 or 4 years. Okay, nobody wants to hear this. And I've heard some really rough testimonies. I've toyed with, I know how you're feeling. I've toyed with recording mine and putting it on members only. Because I don't want, it just opens so many doors. So many doors I don't want opened. But I haven't even gotten that brave yet. And it's written out just to read it. I haven't gotten that brave to put it online anywhere. So I get it. There are just some things that are so deep and personal, you have a hard time sharing. And I get that. Let's see. Okay, wait. What did Shay say? The first time Shay had an NDE, it was when she was 11. They say your life.
Shay, oddly enough, that's exactly all the bad I've done. The way it happened with me is I actually experienced it from the other person's perspective, and it was like the most excruciating experience ever, because I felt all of the hurt, and that was horrible. That's why I fixed it immediately. And that's all else. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I do. I was looking at some of the stuff. Sandy D is talking about a lot of subjects here. I would like to know. Yeah, you've touched on a lot of hot topics. Yeah, I'd like to hear more. $10 years, that's crazy. What channels are you talking about? I have to go back. I'm sorry, I'm looking at chat. What channels? Oh, okay. These ones, John Levi, Michelle Gibson, Question the Narrative. Huh. And I don't know any of those channels.
Yeah, Mind Unveiled is another one. They've been.
What are they about?
Channels. So they're really, really interesting channels.
What are they about? Like
another one.
Crime or what?
Mostly history type of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love history. I love history. I love documentaries. Sandy D, I haven't followed Dutch Sense for a long time, but and I'll tell you how long it's been. At one time, they pulled him from YouTube. This is way back when I very first started watching him, but yeah, he is good with earthquakes and that kind of stuff. All right. Well, it's been 3 hours. Wow, this is one of the longer lives I've ever done. I usually try to cut it off at 2, but it was just too good. It was too good, Prof.
Yeah, it's very good to see you and everyone else.
Yes, good to see you too. And I've said you're welcome anytime. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, but probably not the same things I've been talking about, and definitely not the that which should not be mentioned until time for trial, and then I will talk about it. I'm over it. I'm over it.
Chat today. Thank you, everyone in the chat, and thank you, Silky, too. It's been good to be here. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's weird. I keep going out. All right. All right. Well, thanks for being here. I am about to end it, I guess. And anytime, if you have something on your mind, Prof, that you want to talk about, let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I will see all y'all lovely people later. And whatever you do, stay silky. Bye-bye.